Hello and welcome to Combat Clash, where we watch the top 50 players in the world test their mettle and duke it out on the ranked ladder to compete for that top spot and those delicious elo points. Today's matches takes us to Cliffside, where on the yellow side we have despairjardi playing the Rus, and on the red side we have GIF Music playing the English. Cliffside is a pretty fun little map with a whole lot of elevated terrain running pretty much right down the center of the map. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities. It makes walling off a little bit easier, but at the same time, with Age of Empires sort of elevation mechanics, there's a lot that can happen on these elevated areas here, just right smack dab in the middle of the map, and honestly, not that far off from either player's base. So looking at players' openings, this looks like a fairly standard opening for both players. Hunting cabins going up for despairjardi, going to be getting out as many scouts as he can initially, as he's very likely going to want to go pro scouts. Rus, while pro scouts has been nerfed for a lot of civs, Rus, it has been nerfed, but they're not one of the civs that's ever probably going to back off of pro scouts. It just kind of works for the civ, right? All of their hunting cabins can build scouts, as well as, provide that passive gold. So they really don't need villagers mining any gold, and we probably won't see Rus villagers on gold until a bit later in the game. And wow, okay, so lots of sheep, I should say. Not too many, unfortunately. Those villagers. No, yeah, okay, they are mining. Yeah, a whole lot of sheep right now going into 10 sheep for our friend GIF Music, while only a handful, 3, 4 or so. I believe he might have picked up 1 or 2 before he sent it over that way, but nevertheless. Okay, an extra few there. Yeah, so I mean, the sheep is definitely going in the favor of GIF over here. A total of 12, 13. Yeah, 13 sheep. I mean, that's on any 1v1 map, that's you definitely have more than the opponent for sure. I don't think there's much left for other players on the map at this point, unless there's some sheep hiding around the bottom side of the map, but it does not look to be the case. All right, we have Abbey of Kings coming out for GIF Music here. I would say pretty meta, standard, within expectations for the English. Abbey of Kings is just a fantastic landmark. Provides this healing aura, right? 6 HP every 1 second, and it produces the king. Initial one, I believe, is free. Meanwhile, on the Rus side, we have the Golden Gate coming up. So this is a secondary. It acts as a market. It's going to allow him to trade resources with a better deal. But we actually have, it looks like, maybe a 2TC. Potentially looking to go 2TC here for GIF Music. 5 villagers on stone. He's going to be able to get that 300, 350 for the TC pretty quickly here. Already at 100 stone. And yeah, no, we have just minimum villagers on food right now for GIF Music. He's just purely looking to maintain his vill production while all of his attention is focused on resource gathering for that second town center. And yeah, I mean, other than that, I'm a bit surprised to see a second town center, but it does make sense for English. They are a very strong defensive civ. They can play pretty small, like in a very tight little area, with their landmarks, the White Castle or White Tower. And okay, scouts for the time being. While I don't believe we have pro scouts quite yet, he's just looking to do maybe a little bit of damage, see if he can burn down that mining camp with a handful of his scouts. And I'm a bit surprised we're not seeing any more hunting cabins, only the 2. And we'll see exactly what he wants. If anything, I would expect to maybe see some sort of resource trading here with the Golden Gate. Maybe he will also look to go for something like a 2-town center. Quite a lot of villagers gathering wood right now. So definitely going to be looking to get some production buildings out. Yeah, and then also, all right, so both players actually opting for, looks like, a second town center. And yeah, okay, so town center, this is a bit dangerous. I think just these forward positioned, if you get put on the back foot and your opponent starts pushing into your base, especially from the center of the map, a town center like this is going to be it's going to be one of the first exposed buildings, right? So it can be a little bit dangerous, but second town center going down should be done here shortly. Scouts not doing a whole lot at the moment other than making a whole lot of noise with these alerts. I'm a bit surprised to see that we are not actually going for pro scouts, at least not yet. Looks like despairjardi only opted for a total of 3 scouts, so he's not necessarily looking to get, quickly tear through these packs, bring these packs back to base. But that may change. We'll see. It doesn't seem to be the case at the moment. Wooden Fortress going down, so he gets some of that extra lumber generation, right? Wooden Fortresses for any town centers and lumber camps in their aura, they get an extra 20% wood. So as a Roost player, they do and should always have one of these fortresses near their wood line. And the king has made his way across the map, going to look to take out a couple of these lumber villagers if he has the opportunity. And he just, good body block. Fantastic micro in there by despairjardi. Manages to save his half HP vill. That villager was definitely one hit away from dying. Now, he did take quite a bit of damage from the TC, but the good old-fashioned kingly presence is going to start regenerating this as long as he backs off of this hunting cabin. It only works when it's out of combat. Yeah, he really wants to see if he can snag one of these villagers here, but unfortunately the king is just a bit too damaged. Though we do have our Russian scouts coming to save the day. Before this hunting cabin catches on fire, he should be able to scare them off. And meanwhile, our second town center, both players did opt for a town center on their gold, so just providing that extra resource protection early on. Oh, that villager, getting lucky there. Will be a bit of a blow here if GF Music does happen to lose this scout. It's just, they can be a little bit of a pain to replenish early on, and you really want that scout for the extra vision. The king is a fantastic little sort of like free royal knight, but he does have to be a little careful, and scouts only doing 1 damage at a time, so they're not in danger. 28 health. He's definitely got to get this guy back out of combat so he can just sort of heal up. Maybe even bring him back across to the Abbey for some additional healing. Because down to 26 health, he is a stone's throw away from dying. And, had despairjardi been super on top of that, he could have quickly garrisoned these villagers and probably killed this king. But we do have our healing going in, and the white tower is getting dropped in the center of the map here. GF Music placing it defensively, so it's not too far forward. On his side of the map, at least on his side of the cliff. But he is dropping that right in front of the sacred site. So it's going to be a long time before we see Roos take this sacred site. And honestly, at the moment, I mean, despairjardi is still quite a ways away from any age ups. Looks like he looks like he's probably saving up for it now. Should be getting both those resources fairly quickly. But yeah, white tower is up. We are in castle age for English. King getting 75 health per. No, I'm sorry. That's his max health. That would be wild. Yeah, he's healing up pretty quickly here. You can see this ticking up pretty fast. So it won't be too long before he sends him back across the map, and we have some knights that are being produced from the English white tower. One of the fantastic bonuses that the English has here is all of their keeps are basically the universal military production buildings. So any military unit, including siege, can be built from these keeps. And we do have actually opting to split up the knight and the king here. And maybe just poking around, seeing exactly what is potentially exposed. And we have high trade house coming down for the Roos. Now, with this many villagers building this, there is a bit of a window here for him to get a little bit of damage here. And actually, his one injured worker is on the most vulnerable side. Is he going to catch this? He does. Okay, good micro by despairjardi, keeping that damaged villager safe. And a couple of horsemen and a scout do manage to block the way at the very least. No villager is going to go down, but is going to get rid of that horseman. Knights just, they are definitely taking a lot of this TC fire, this arrow fire, but and actually, yeah, Knight is going to go down. Opts to maybe overstay his welcome a bit here. Looks like he will also lose the king. And he doesn't even get the villager. Oof, that is rough. Replenishing one knight. Looks like we're just going to have a steady production of knights from the English side now. Now that we have our high trade house, this is going to be providing a fair bit of gold here with all the trees in line. Probably about, given how the game is going, definitely probably about the best spot he could have placed it in. High trade house, basically a super beefed up version of a hunting cabin, right, for income. And, at the moment, Jiff Music just doing a good job of sort of aggravating and irritating despairjardi a bit with his knights. That was a pretty big loss here, losing both his knight and his king. And we have actually a little group of villagers here managed to sneak on the other side of the map, drop a wooden fortress, and start mining out some of this deer. Or actually, they're on the boar. Excuse me. So, yeah, despairjardi doing a great job of taking advantage of the food on the map, even without pro scouts. Honestly, I'm a bit surprised that he opted not to go for it. At the moment, maybe that could have just been the pressure of, the fact that Jiff Music's already in Castle Age. And a whole lot of villagers going to the berries, not wanting to transition to farms too quickly here. He is starting the transition. And now the real question is going to be how many relics actually go to either side. Both players, I believe, have their monks on the board. Yep, warrior monk up here. Although, unfortunately, it does look like Jiff managed to snag, let's see, where's his monastery? He managed to snag that first relic that was sitting right here in the center before despairjardi was able to get over to it. And we actually have, it looks like the majority of the relics on the map. So 2 relics, 1 in hand now for despairjardi. Opts to go for one of the relics a bit further away from his base with some additional knights coming out for protection. Meanwhile, we have a 3rd relic about to be picked up by Jiff Music, and we'll see if it doesn't look like there should be any issues with him getting it back there. But if these knights do opt to go for some aggression, yeah, and they are coming this way, they might be able to snag this monk out before he gets caught out. He will very likely be in vision here. Yep, and there he is. Knights coming down. I don't think this monk is getting to his destination, unfortunately. Yep, nope, he is locked on. That monk definitely going to be going down, but we do have some knights, or a knight, I should say, looking to grab a total of 2 villagers killed so far. Make that 3. I'd say a bit of a worthwhile trade here, especially considering, with only 3 villagers killed. Okay, one villager does go down for Jiff, but he actually manages to take that monk all the way back. So relics go the way of Jiff Music. 3 to Jiff, and only 2 to despairjardi. But we have knights diving the Roost Town Center. They are looking at the very least to disrupt the economy of despairjardi as much as he can. Seeing if he can snag a few of these villagers here, running right into the whole pack. There's definitely not enough fortresses here to get all these guys up. But how many is he actually going to be able to secure? Only 4. Meanwhile, we have Roost Knights of his own here. Manages to even out the villagers killed. And okay, yeah, so, great job. He did at least manage, Jiff Music was at least able to disrupt despairjardi's economy here a bit. Not too much. A handful of villagers did get killed on the side of Jiff. Unfortunately for him, fortunately for him, it doesn't look like his economy was affected too much there. We do have a couple of barracks, a little idle spearman down here. And continuing the production of knights, maybe going to be upgrading his spearmen and swapping to some additional spears to defend against the Roost Knights. I'm curious to see if our Roost player despairjardi over here decides to also switch into maybe horse archers. But at the moment, no, we are going full commitment to the knights. Only stables for our production buildings for despairjardi, and adding a 4th one on top of that. We are looking at military upgrades. We have 2 ranged armor for Jif Music, so he's going to be very comfortable diving these town centers, diving these wooden fortresses, right? 6 ranged armor on the English knights versus 5 for the French. So, or Rus knights, excuse me. But English knights once again diving under this wood line, just picking off a couple of villagers. But oh my word, that is a whole lot of knights, whole lot of English villagers this time do go down. Just sort of trading villagers back and forth at the moment. But that, I mean, fantastic little raid here. Might want to consider walling off at least a little bit more than just this portion of his base. Despairjardi doing a very good job of just sneaking in here. And that was a much bigger knight force that had just pretty much direct and free access to this entire wood line. More walls coming up. Okay. Yep. Jif Music feeling the danger of these knights. Sacred sites are getting decapped for both players. Northernmost sacred site is getting decapped and will be shortly recapped here. However, on the south side, we're only going to see a decap, right? No warrior monks here. This center sacred site, I don't imagine that's going to be changing anytime soon. And these villagers over here just taking their time with these huntable deer. I'm a bit surprised that it hasn't really been spotted out, especially with I mean, it's only a monk, so he's not going to see too far, but he did get fairly close. A bit lucky for Despairjardi to not have been caught out by with these villagers yet. They do have a fortress there, but they are still very much in danger. And a lot of knights for Despairjardi, 22 knights with only 4 for Jif. So he's not really committing to Jif, not really committing to too much of a military at the moment. It looks like he's just trying to maybe fortify his base a little bit, starting to get some more production buildings up. We've got a lot of barracks for him, actually. I have a total of 20 spearmen. Not going to be nearly as mobile and versatile as knights, but they should do a fairly good job of defending. Although at the moment where they're at right now, he definitely needs to start moving them. These knights showing themselves on this wall here, coming in for a dive. This is a lot of knights. They are definitely going to be able to ignore the town center fire, and he opts to just do a little bit of economic damage here, burn a few of these farms down before backing off. Our English monk does get found out and killed, and a couple of knights just diving into the roost base looking for those free eco kills. Both players doing a pretty good job of kind of maintaining an even spread of economic damage here. That being said, Jif Music does have about a 10 villager advantage at the moment. So economy, numbers wise, definitely in the favor of Jif. However, we do also have to keep in mind the hunting cabins. Despairjardi has been doing a good job of building them out as he's expanding and just providing a fair chunk of free gold. Okay, some spearmen. These guys are not really going to be able to do too much under any sort of town center fire. And just a couple individual knights just for either player on opposite sides of the map, taking a little attention, pulling away. Honestly, this is quite a bit of resources of units here. Maybe these villagers, these spearmen don't need to be here, but he may actually run into this one fortress. And Despairjardi opting for a wall on the north side of the map. Maybe just wanted to sort of monopolize a lot of these gold veins if he can. But this wall has definitely been spotted out. Those villagers. Okay, fortress has been spotted out as well. But he maybe these spearmen should have turned back around and gone for these villagers. And there they go. All right. So Jif Music definitely concerned about the knights. Hasn't quite had the solution for them, but we have a huge mass of knights. Horse archers now coming out for Despairjardi. So we are definitely going to need to see a bit of a change in unicomp from Jif. He does not at the moment have a way to deal with these horse archers. And we're already up to 13. Spearmen will do fine against these knights, but they are going to get shredded by these horse archers. Nice little outpost here for Jif Music, going to be able to just pepper any units standing along that ridge line. A whole lot of farms. We are English is well into their farm transition. And despairjardi also opting not too comfortable. I'm a bit surprised he hasn't also opted to try to take some of these deer on the left side of the map. But we have a huge army mass for despairjardi here. Going to be looking for a flanking option here, though we do have the entire side of the map is walled off. So he is going to have to break through some palisades before he's actually able to get into the English base. Meanwhile, Jif's entire army is actually on the opposite side of the map. And spearmen looking around on the north side, seeing if there's anything else they can snag. But unfortunately, we do have this wooden fortress here with a springald emplacement. These knights are going to be able to potentially... Oh, and he does not see this. despairjardi. His attention is elsewhere, and all of these villagers go down. However, despairjardi looking to get some damage of his own in, committing to breaking down this gate. However, we do have Windguard Palace. Imperial Age is here for Jif, and he is going to need to be careful. despairjardi has not committed to spending those resources on Imperial, which means there's a whole lot more money in the tank for despairjardi to continue his military push. And this Windguard Palace is going to go down even before these raiders are going to be able to come out. Meanwhile, Jif Music opting to try to get some knights into despairjardi's base and just kill off as many villagers as he can. Doing a fairly good job of it. Almost 30 villagers killed now. Big engagement happening here in these little alleyways. Right now it's favoring. It looks like Jif, but these horse archers are going to continue to be able to pressure and snipe out these spearmen. Unfortunately, there are just so many spearmen. Still 40 spearmen up. But now, and this is where he really wants to back off this. These horse archers are just going to kite these spearmen. Knights fully trapped inside this base right now. Oh, and he does catch some of these horse archers off guard. There's a whole lot of attention being pulled in every direction by Jif here. He's got knights under the town center, knights in his farm line, running around. Okay, and despairjardi taking his knights to the villagers this time, seeing if he can pick off a handful. But I mean, we're at 48 villagers killed for Jif, almost double the worker count at the moment. This is not that was unfortunately a bit of an unsuccessful dive there. Windguard Palace does get repaired, or at least it's being repaired. It was destroyed, so there is a fair bit of time before he can actually do anything there. Roos Knight's still just running back and forth, doesn't want to. He might not be able to actually opt to leave with these knights. Handful of them left. There are just, wow, I mean, so many spearmen here. Crossbows coming out to support the backline as well to really pepper these knights even from a distance. And we are 60 workers, 59 workers versus 102 for Jif. So it's not looking good. He does, despairjardi does opt to go for his Imperial Edge here behind that push. Even though it is a failed push, he is still in a pretty comfortable, potentially comfortable spot. He's floating a whole lot of lumber. Might want to consider swapping that to something else. Really, because at the moment, I mean, Jif has all of the advantage and all of the tempo. He has a huge force of units here. Almost completely infantry based, which is not at all bad. It's definitely not as mobile, but Jif has done a very good job of just walling off and protecting his flanks for his base, which means he can afford to have a bit of a slower army and really just pushing here. We might see some siege coming out for the White Tower, especially. One of the advantages of English is that they don't have to build siege workshops. And here we go. We have a push coming into the front side of despairjardi's base here. No real defenses other than this town center to speak of here. And with only a military count of 16, this is looking like it very well may be the end here. There's not a lot that can be done. Town center going to get burned down very quickly. Doesn't even need the siege. Huge amount of infantry here, able to just torch buildings down very, very quickly. Couple more villagers going to go down. Roos Knights looking to pick up some villagers as Jif is forced to expand outside the base, but this English army just going wherever they want. Excuse me. Going straight for his third TC. Jif Music does not does not want to take any chances here. He is looking to just choke out Despairjardi until he is forced to call the GG. Knights looking at every opportunity for villager kills. 55 villagers dead, and that is the GG. Well played. I do love to see a vanilla matchup. Some of the OGs coming out. I mean, I've been really enjoying seeing these players on English this season. They've been showcasing the strengths of the Civ very well. They're a very strong defensive Civ, and that's not to say, Roos played a very, very good game also. But nevertheless, GIF music does take it. Fantastic showing with the English. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Combat Clash. If you are itching for another round, take a look at some of our recent clashes just over to the left. And of course, if you'd like to see more, please do be so kind as to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. So long, and I will see you next time for another round of Combat Clash.